When we're doing Bulgarian split squats, there are two important variations that are going to allow you to isolate the glutes in comparison to the quads. So today we're going to go over these two types of variations so you know what's going to allow you to effectively target a given area. Variation number one. Typically, this is where you are going to notice a forward lean. Our shins are going to be perpendicular to the ground, and we're really going to maximize hip flexion. That is variation number one. Now, do you think that this form and technique is going to effectively allow you to target the quads, or are we targeting the glutes here? Comment down below before I give you the answer. The second variation is where we are going to keep an upright torso, and we're going to focus on driving our knee over our toe, and our shin isn't perpendicular to the ground. So with this variation, are we effectively isolating the quads, or are we isolating the glutes? Now for the variation where you guessed that leaning further forward and keeping your shins perpendicular to the ground is targeting your glutes, you guessed correctly. So the biggest goal with this is, again, we want to ensure that our shin is staying perpendicular to the ground. It's not going over our toe. We're leaning further forward so we can transfer more weight on the back of that glute. As you can see here, we're really maximizing our hip flexion, which is really going to allow us to prioritize hip extension when we go to stand back up. And for those who have been here for a while, you know that the best way to target our glutes is to prioritize movement patterns that involve hip extension. So in order to effectively do that, if you are doing Bulgarian split squats and you want to grow your peach, making sure that you're leaning forward, keeping that shin perpendicular to the ground, really sitting back and prioritizing hip flexion here, so that way you can focus on squeezing at the top and really prioritizing hip extension. Now, if you want to focus on targeting the quads, we want to focus on maximizing knee flexion, and that's where our shin isn't going to be perpendicular to the ground. We're going to focus on driving our knee over our toe, so that way we can prioritize knee extension to target these bad boys. So again, with that, we want to keep an upright torso, but really drive that knee forward. And again, we're prioritizing knee flexion, not hip flexion, knee flexion, so that way we can really effectively prioritize knee extension. Now, a lot of people do have poor dorsiflexion. That's ankle mobility, where driving their knees over their toes isn't fully being maximized, so we can isolate the quads. So a helpful way to do this is to elevate your heel. And that's gonna really allow you to further increase that range of driving your knee over your toe. So we're gonna bring the plate down. Can you guys see that okay? Not really, hey? Let's move over a bit. Okay, so we got our plate down right there. We're gonna have our heel over top of the plate, and that's driving my toes down. Again, that's what's gonna allow that knee drive to increase. So we're focusing on keeping upright, really driving that knee forward, and that way all of our weight distribution is on our front quad, and that way we can focus on pushing up to prioritize our knee extension, which is really gonna allow us to load the quads in comparison to the glutes. That doesn't mean that your glutes aren't working when you do that variation, but it depends on your goals, right? If you do want to focus on isolating your quads better, staying more upright, elevating your heel, making sure your knee is going over your toes, that's what's going to allow you to do so. So it's not that there's a right or wrong way to do it, but again, it just comes down to your preferences and what your body composition goals are.